Hello everyone, Master Xeon1001 here, and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to use scripted expressions in order to create an animated camera lens that pops out and make it an insert. And just before we begin, here's an example showing it in 2.8 using Eevee in real time. Gotta love Eevee. So let's begin. Alright, getting started. In this particular example, I'm just going to delete the cube. Let's just delete it. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell the other cubes, please. Anyways, from here we're going to add a level of subdivision with Control 1 and then Alt-C to convert it to mesh, giving us more points. We'll E, extrude it out. From here we'll press E, comma. For some reason my pivot point's always offset nowadays. We'll set this to X, and we'll just bring this in. We'll press Alt-X and use symmetry instead of bisect. Mirror it on the X, give it some thickness, and we're going to paste in the following command in the rotation. We want this to rotate like so. So for this, we're going to paste in the same thing from the last video, except instead of 30, we're going to use 31. And that will show for reasons later in this video. So now we'll insert a cylinder, do the same thing we've been doing. Just quickly up-res it by creasing the edges, and then just dissolve it to simplify it. We'll delete that face, delete this face, and we will E, Alt-S to push that in, Control-N to recalculate the normals. And we're just going to bring up each piece. And then finally, the top piece. From here, we'll delete the interior. Get rid of this loop as well. We'll select this loop and let's put it to work. We'll mark it sharp and then unmark it. That way we can bevel this until it's rounded. Suddenly I receive a phone call. 1 hour phone call, now I'm back. So we were in the middle of editing this, turning this part into a lens shape. So right here we'll go ahead and just put in some edge loops, and we'll just add a loop here, here, here. For some reason I'm doing this manually. I should have just densed it up. I'll hold Alt and select these. Gotta get back in gear. Sorry, pressed F. So right now I'm standing up at my desk, so might not hit hotkeys as effectively. We'll use C sharpen just because I want it to look a little bit better. So there we go. So we have our piece bobbing back and forth, and if you watched the last video, you know that it's bobbing between -57 and +57, and that will play into our hands later. So let's go ahead and continue. So I'm going to select this piece here, and we're just going to add a transformation. Constraint helper coming soon to HardOps. I mean, how many constraints do I have to come out of full screen to insert before that becomes a thing, am I right? So continuing on, we're going to go ahead and choose circle, and we're going to use the rotation of Z from -40 to +40, and we're going to change this local space, because otherwise it will play with our sanity. So we'll just move this down like so while watching it visually. So now, in fact, watch for a moment, I'm going to have to use world space. There it is at its lowest point. We want to bring it to about right here. A little bit of overlap. Comes up, comes down, comes up, comes down. So I find this to be a very fun way of playing with procedural animation. So if you haven't experimented with this for yourself, you know, get in there, find out. So I'm going to select all these, then select this, and we're just going to use copy constraints to selected objects. So now this is what we have going on. So when it's at its lowest point, we're going to take this and just alter its number to be a little bit higher and make this one's even higher, and make this one's even higher. So now we have our retractable camera lens, and because we set it to 40 and 40, there's a amount of buffer, 17 and negative 17 frames, for it to sit on for a moment and just sit there before it goes back in. So if we wanted to change this even more, we could just go in here and play with this or connect it to an external property. But continuing on, let's go ahead and just make this a little more interesting. So I'm just going to select this loop, double tap I, press E, cancel, use Alt S to push it out. And so now we have something like that going on. And we'll use our command from the previous video, which we'll put into Z. Just type in pound frame times 0.35. We're getting higher on those numbers, guys. And so now we have something like that happening. And on this one, we'll just use a little bit of Boxcutter. Let's make sure there's no modifiers. No modifiers. We'll just cut that. Mirror to the other side. Maybe even do another cut here. Just something interesting. And we can even Shift S, insert another cylinder here. And we'll just put a loop in here. We'll just Control B, bevel it, add one loop, but press Control minus to shrink it. And that'll get us the intended result with far less keystrokes than before. And I'm just going to take this and parent it to this, just because. So now that happens. Just a little something interesting happening here. And one of these has a full cylinder. Is it this one? No. In fact, where is it happening at? Look, right here. This piece. So we're going to take this face, and this face, and we're going to press I, W, bridge edge loops, and that should actually take care of that. We'll just scale it out a little bit, and let's look at it. And this is what we have on our retractable camera lens, created using the power of drivers. So while this video is talking about KitOps, I mean, a lot of this stuff is just Blender stuff. And Boxcutter and HardOps stuff, of course, too. But, you know, speaking of Boxcutter, let's draw a purple box. And what I want to do with this purple box is change it from difference to union. Union purple box, coming soon. For reals, I was talking about it recently, like as a feature that would be cool to have. So we'll just take this and we'll apply to solidify. And we're just going to use Boxcutter once more here. And we'll use Boxcutter here, and then we'll just mirror to the other side, hide it, and we'll take this and apply it. So now we have this. Alright, and let's just keep modeling stuff on this to make it more interesting. So right here, I'm going to take this area and press I to isolate it, and we'll press E to extrude it, and we're just going to grab these two edges up here, GG, and slide those in, remove doubles, and we've created something like that here. And we'll just slide this up as well, maybe S sharp that, and then run S sharpen, and that'll give us something looking a little more interesting. You know, right here we may want to do another cut. The problem is that there's an interior face, and that's what's making this go awry. So if we just change this to union, we can take this piece and apply to solidify, and then just bevel this to give us something like that, maybe more like that. And let's apply this and put this on the other side, and on the other side like so. We just have something like that going on. And so for this one, I'm gonna put in the same command I've been messing with, and we'll even take our previous command and get some mileage out of that one. So we'll just put that one here. So now there's like this very interesting camera action happening. And if I would have rehearsed in advance, I also would have made like a shutter, but I don't want to get all experimental in this video and mess up for 20 minutes for what is a product placement. So from here, we're going to press I twice, press E, Alt S, push that in, and we have multiple selections, so we want to deselect the second thing and just lower the B width just enough here. And so now this is our setup here. So finally, to conclude all these rotations, which we could be using copy animation constraints to do this as well. In fact, that's going too fast. Looks really crazy. Alright, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So I don't even have to test this insert because this has been a workflow I've been repeating repeatedly over and over to give you guys the most quality and tutorial content. So we'll just bring this down and just give it a very simple ring. And we'll cut off the top. That'll give us an end gun. That'll save us some keystrokes. And from here, wire mode, control up arrow, let's maximize the viewport, and we just want a slight lip in there. In fact, let's up-res this cylinder, so we'll S-sharp it, control 1, Alt C, clean the mesh, and that's a better looking cylinder for this. So even though I had end-gons and whatnot, because they're on flats, they just turn into flat spinals that can easily be dealt with. Just an FYI there. So we'll select everything except that one thing, and we will control P, keep transform. If we rotate this, it gets really crazy. So let's just copy it over to our scene that we're going to be, oops, not that one, that one's the rehearsal. We'll paste that in. And so what we're going to need to do is let this come out, and we're going to need to change each of our constraints to be local, 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 local. So fool me once glitch, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me again. Why did I not learn? So we'll use Control Shift S. First uncheck auto parent because our parenting is just right. We did it ourselves. And we'll just call this AnyLens 1_2. And let's just test it out. Perfect. So from here, we'll save the file. In fact, just to live longer, I'm going to select everything here, Alt C, merge it, press Control J, Alt H, hold Control and click this to render the thumbnail. In fact, let's revert our scene here. This is the main object and the cutter. And now we'll hide it. Actually, let's unhide it. Let's Control A, location, rotation, scale. Now hide it. We'll select everything, press Alt C, mesh from curve, and just join everything. And then from here, when we hold this, it'll render exactly how we want it, because right now sometimes the shapes will get offset, but I found that this is the quickest way to get around that. So now we look at our insert. That is what we have. If we go into scene, actually let's check animated and save it again. And now let's just go on a blank scene, take our cube, and we will go here and locate lens 1 and 2. Let's insert that. So here's our insert, And if we Shift D, duplicate it, it will place all of our booleans for us for one thing, which is just great. For two, it will keep all of our connections in place, like our drivers and whatnot, for this shape that we're creating here. And so when we finally look at this, we have this nice camera array looking at you, just a sign of dystopian times that we live in, and how even your cubes are always watching you. So with that, we can wrap up this tutorial. I hope everyone enjoyed, and of course, buy my HardOps t-shirt, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.